Emma Carter was a fearless investigative journalist, known for chasing the most bizarre and unexplainable stories across the globe. At 29, she had already uncovered cults, exposed fake psychics, and even spent a week in a supposed haunted asylum, documenting it all. But she craved something bigger, something real. When a plain brown envelope arrived on her desk with no return address, Emma's curiosity was instantly piqued. Inside were a handful of faded photos of a fog-covered village and a handwritten note that simply read, "Ravenswood is still breathing. They never left." Nestled deep within the Hartmoor Forest, Ravenswood had vanished from maps decades ago. A mining village in the 1800s, it was rumored to have been cursed after a terrible accident that killed half its population. The rest reportedly vanished overnight. The government sealed the area, calling it a landslide zone. But satellite images showed no sign of land disturbance. Only rotting rooftops, stone walls, and twisted iron gates still standing in the underbrush. Emma arrived after hiking 5 miles through dense, misty forest. The village greeted her with eerie stillness. The air was unnaturally cold. Wooden homes leaned like dying trees. The village square featured a moss-covered statue, its face chiseled away. No birds, no animals, only silence. The photos had shown more than the statue and broken houses. One had captured shadowy figures in the windows of a church. Another showed what looked like claw marks across a rusted gate. And the final photo showed something even stranger, a journal lying open on the floor, surrounded by blood-stained pages. Emma had to know more. Her gut told her this was more than just a ghost story. She unpacked her camera, recorder, flashlight, and a small bag of salt, an old habit when heading into allegedly haunted places. Inside the first home she explored, the smell hit her, wet wood and something metallic. Dried blood streaked the walls, and symbols were carved into the floors. In the bedroom, she found a journal, identical to the one in the photo. It belonged to a man named Elias Graves, the village pastor. Flipping to the pages, Emma read about whispers heard at night, townspeople behaving strangely, and finally, a ritual meant to grant eternal spirit. But something went wrong. "We buried our souls too deep," the final entry read. "Now we rot in our own prayer." Suddenly, footsteps echoed from the hallway. Slow, deliberate. But when Emma spun around, there was no one. She shook her head. "Wind. Just wind," she whispered. Still, her heart pounded like a drum. She was no stranger to fear, but this felt different, heavier, like the house was breathing with her. Despite the signs, she convinced herself to stay. This was the lead she had waited for. The unknown was her job, but a flicker in the corner of her eye kept drawing her attention, like something was watching her just out of reach as night fell. Emma made her way to the village church, the tallest structure in Ravenswood. The iron doors creaked open to reveal shattered stained glass, broken pews, and an altar stained black. She found a trapdoor behind the pulpit. It led to a stone stairwell descending beneath the church. At the bottom was a crypt, an underground chamber filled with candles, all unlit but strangely intact. On the walls were portraits of villagers with their eyes scratched out. Emma found another passage from Elias's journal. "We gave blood to awaken the deep one. Now it watches from below, hungry still." As she turned to leave, a voice rasped behind her. An old man, hunched and trembling, stood in the shadow of a pillar. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered. "You'll wake them." His name was Thomas, the last living descendant of the villagers. He had escaped as a child and returned only recently, drawn by visions and dreams. He explained that the village had attempted to summon an ancient entity for protection during a famine. The ritual required willing souls. But desperation led to betrayal, and the village was cursed. Before Emma could ask more, Thomas screamed. Hands reached from the wall itself and dragged him into darkness, leaving only blood and the sound of cracking bones. Emma ran to the forest edge, gasping, ready to flee. But the path had disappeared. The trees looked unfamiliar. Her GPS was dead. The sky had turned a shade darker, and the village behind her now seemed even more alive. Realizing she was trapped, Emma returned, determined to break the curse. She set up a camera and recorded everything she'd found. "If I don't make it out," she said, Someone needs to know what happened here. She decided to perform the ritual in reverse, to undo what had been done. That night, the village turned hostile. Doors slammed shut. Shadows followed her. A child's laughter echoed from empty rooms. In one house, she found herself reliving someone else's memory, trapped in a loop where she was accused of murder by villagers with hollow eyes. In the church, the pews moved on their own, blocking her path. A mirror cracked as she passed, showing her reflection decaying. Her recorder played voices she hadn't recorded. She knows. She's one of us now. Emma pressed on, each step feeling like she was sinking deeper into the village's twisted soul. And the crypt beneath the church. She lit the old candles and read the ritual backwards. But halfway through, the ground shook and a monstrous growl rose from below. A pit opened in the center, revealing a pool of black liquid. Out stepped a creature, faceless, humanoid, its limbs too long, its presence choking. Around it, ghostly villagers appeared, screaming in silence. Emma dropped the journal. Stepping back, the entity whispered in a language older than time. She didn't understand the words, but their meaning was clear. "Join us." The creature lunged. Emma threw the salt at it. Nothing. She pulled out a lighter and set the journal ablaze, screaming the last words of the ritual. The fire ignited the symbols around the chamber, and the spirits wailed in agony. The entity screeched and staggered, its form breaking apart like burning paper. The ground split, swallowing the altar. The church above trembled. With every word Emma spoke, the village crumbled more. In the final moments, she saw them clearly. Villagers, children, elders, all reaching toward her not in anger, but in desperation. They hadn't wanted immortality. They wanted release. The curse had fed on guilt and betrayal. Emma had broken its hold by confronting it with truth and sacrifice. The village collapsed around her. The sky cleared. The oppressive weight lifted. Ravenswood's spirits were gone. Emma crawled out of the crypt, exhausted and shaking, but alive. The forest path reappeared behind her. The curse had lifted, but at a cost. She was no longer the same person. The veil between life and death had been pulled back. And now, she could hear things others couldn't. Whispers, sighs, names spoken in the wind. Emma made it back to civilization and uploaded her footage. It was blurry and corrupted, but the story spread like wildfire. Paranormal forums dubbed it the Ravenswood Resurrection. Experts dismissed her story, but locals around Hartmoor began reporting strange sightings, flickering lights in the trees, voices in the dark. Emma refused to return, but the nightmares never stopped. 1 week later, she received another package. Inside was a torn page from Elias's journal. Written in new ink were the words, "You set them free. Now they owe you. Others wait beneath other soils." Ravenswood was just the beginning. Emma looked up from the page, heart pounding. She knew what she had to do. The next village awaited.